Chapter 48. It is here that I purpose to end my book. My first idea was to begin it with the account of Strickland's last years in Tahiti and with his horrible death, and then to go back and relate what I knew of his beginnings. This I meant to do, not from willfulness, but because I wished to leave Strickland setting out with I know not what fancies in his lonely soul for the unknown islands which fired his imagination. I liked the picture of him starting at the age of 47, when most men have already settled comfortably in a groove, for a new world. I saw him, the sea gray under the mistral and foam-flecked, watching the vanishing coast of France, which he was destined never to see again, and I thought there was something gallant in his bearing and dauntless in his soul. I wished so to end on a note of hope. It seemed to emphasize the unconquerable spirit of man, but I could not manage it. Somehow I could not get into my story, and after trying once or twice I had to give it up. I started from the beginning in the usual way, and made up my mind I could only tell what I knew of Strickland's life in the order in which I learnt the facts. Those that I have now are fragmentary. I am in the position of a biologist who from a single bone must reconstruct not only the appearance of an extinct animal, but its habits. Strickland made no particular impression on the people who came in contact with him in Tahiti. To them he was no more than a beachcomber in constant need of money, remarkable only for the peculiarity that he painted pictures which seemed to them absurd, and it was not till he had been dead for some years and agents came from the dealers in Paris and Berlin to look for any pictures which might still remain on the island, that they had any idea that among them had dwelt a man of consequence. They remembered then that they could have bought for a song canvases which now were worth large sums, and they could not forgive themselves for the opportunity which had escaped them. There was a Jewish trader called Cohen, who had come by one of Strickland's pictures in a singular way. He was a little old Frenchman, with soft kind eyes and a pleasant smile, half trader and half seaman, who owned a cutter in which he wandered boldly among the Paumotus and the Marquesas, taking out trade goods and bringing back copra, shell, and pearls. I went to see him because I was told he had a large black pearl which he was willing to sell cheaply, and when I discovered that it was beyond my means I began to talk to him about Strickland. He had known him well. You see, I was interested in him because he was a painter, he told me. We don't get many painters in the islands, and I was sorry for him, because he was such a bad one. I gave him his first job. I had a plantation on the peninsula, and I wanted a white overseer. You never get any work out of the natives unless you have a white man over them. I said to him, you'll have plenty of time for painting, and you can earn a bit of money. I knew he was starving, but I offered him good wages. I can't imagine that he was a very satisfactory overseer, I said, smiling. I made allowances. I have always had a sympathy for artists. It is in our blood, you know. But he only remained a few months. When he had enough money to buy paints and canvases he left me. The place had got hold of him by then, and he wanted to get away into the bush. But I continued to see him now and then. He would turn up in Papeete every few months and stay a little while, had get money out of someone or other, and then disappear again. It was on one of these visits that he came to me and asked for the loan of 200 francs. He looked as if he hadn't had a meal for a week, and I hadn't the heart to refuse him. Of course, I never expected to see my money again. Well, a year later, he came to see me once more, and he brought a picture with him. He did not mention the money he owed me, but he said, "Here is a picture of your plantation that I've painted for you." I looked at it. I did not know what to say, but of course I thanked him, and when he had gone away I showed it to my wife. "What was it like?" I asked.
Do not ask me.
I could not make head or tail of it. I never saw such a thing in my life. "What shall we do with it?" I said to my wife. "We can never hang it up," she said. "People would laugh at us." So she took it into an attic and put it away with all sorts of rubbish, for my wife can never throw anything away. It is her mania. Then, imagine to yourself, just before the war my brother wrote to me from Paris and said, "Do you know anything about an English painter who lived in Tahiti? It appears that he was a genius, and his pictures fetch large prices. See if you can lay your hands on anything and send it to me. There's money to be made." So I said to my wife, "What about that picture that Strickland gave me? Is it possible that it is still in the attic?" "Without doubt," she answered, "for you know that I never throw anything away. It is my mania." We went up to the attic, And there, among I know not what rubbish that had been gathered during the 30 years we have inhabited that house, was the picture. I looked at it again, and I said, "Who would have thought that the overseer of my plantation on the peninsula, to whom I lent 200 francs, had genius? Do you see anything in the picture?" "No," she said, "it does not resemble the plantation, and I have never seen coconuts with blue leaves, but they are mad in Paris, and it may be that your brother will be able to sell it for the 200 francs you lent Strickland." Well, we packed it up and we sent it to my brother. And at last I received a letter from him. What do you think he said? "I received your picture," he said, "and I confess I thought it was a joke that you had played on me. I would not have given the cost of postage for the picture. I was half afraid to show it to the gentleman who had spoken to me about it. Imagine my surprise when he said it was a masterpiece and offered me 30,000 francs. I dare say he would have paid more, but frankly I was so taken aback that I lost my head. I accepted the offer before I was able to collect myself. Then Monsieur Cohen said an admirable thing. I wish that poor Strickland had been still alive. I wonder what he would have said when I gave him 29,800 francs for his picture.